I will go ahead and call to order the Thursday, April 12, 2018 meeting of the Royal Oak Zoning Board of Appeals. The board does not write the zoning ordinance, but does have the authority to grant relief from it where practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship would result. The board will vote on each agenda item following a public hearing. Use variance requests require a minimum of 6 affirmative votes in order to grant the requested variances. Non-use variance requests require a minimum of 5 affirmative votes in order to grant the variances. If you would like to request that the board table or adjourn your case due to the absence of a full board, which is the case this evening, we are going to be down 1 member. You must inform the chairperson immediately following the public hearing. Petitioners shall do their best to limit their presentations to 10 minutes, and each participant in a public hearing shall do their best to limit their comments to 3 minutes. With that being done, I'm looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes for the March 8th meeting.
Motion approved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion, additions, deletions?
Perfect.
It's perfect.
Perfect.
All right, then I will go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that brings us down to old business, which we don't have any. So our first item of new business is item D1, case number 180408, public hearing on the appeal of Clement Construction Company petitioner and 122 North Lafayette LLC owner for the following variances. A, to waive 12 feet of the minimum required 25-foot north side yard setback. B, waive 18.1 feet of the minimum required 25-foot south side yard setback. And C, to expand and alter a non-conforming structure. Mr. Murphy, located at 122 North Lafayette, I'm sorry.
This property is, as stated, located on North Lafayette. It's 1 block north of 11 Mile Road, just outside of downtown. It's actually zoned multiple family residential, and it has 5 residential units, 3 units on the first floor, 2 on the upper floor. And I'll refer you to the photograph on the screen in front of you. The second floor is not a full second story. There's 1 unit on the east side and 1 unit on the west side of the building. The space in between is essentially a walkout area. Yep. And the petitioner is looking to add additional floor space where that opening currently is, so fill that opening in. In equal shares, the floor space will go to one of the existing units on the east, and the additional floor space to the other set will go to the existing unit. So the units are not getting larger, or rather the units are getting larger. They're not adding an additional unit. So it's not an increase in the number of parking spaces. However, it's an expansion of what's a non-conforming building due to the fact that, and I'll show the survey. So the building has a front yard setback along Lafayette and then a surface parking lot off the alley to the rear. And the ordinance requires that the building maintain setbacks from 25 feet from all property lines. And as you can see from this survey, it's a little over 7 feet from the south property line and 13 feet from the north property line. So even to fill in that space, that current space, and match, we'll say the footprint of the existing building needs a waiver because it doesn't comply, the addition doesn't comply with the 25-foot setback. So they're here seeking variances from the setback standards to accomplish adding additional floor space to the existing units on the second floor.
Any questions for Mr. Murphy at this point? Not seeing any. I see the petitioners are present. Please come up.
May I ask just one
I'm
quick-
sorry. Go ahead.
Make sure, I believe you said it clearly, but filling in that missing space there along the same lines as the other parts of the building. You're not going to expand any more out the sides.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, make sure I understand. Thank you very much.
And that's reflective of the floor plan that's shown on the screen.
Yeah.
And if I could have you gentlemen introduce yourselves for the record and tell us about your plan.
Paul Silva. I'm Jared Clement. And I'm the owner of the 2 buildings, which we haven't gone to the second one yet. Thanks for your time. I feel like the quicker we go, the better our chances, so I'll keep it brief. I bought this building in fall of 2008. If any of you remember that, what was going on back then, we had a little global recession. So my plan was to do this back then, went through the whole process, it was approved, and then unfortunately we decided because of the environment we're in, maybe now's not the time. Now's the time. So we're not adding additional units as we discussed. We're just adding, more square footage to 2 existing units. And the goal is to also improve the exterior of the building. It has that dated, siding that's original, which we painted, but the outside of the building is going to now have a new roof line, new roof, and also the exterior is going to look more up to date, more like a newer construction. So that's the ultimate goal, is to update it all around, inside and out.
Any questions for the petitioner? All right, not seeing any, I'll just ask you gentlemen to step aside for a second in case this gentleman in the audience wants to speak to us on this matter. Please.
My name's Tom Gorgas, and I'm the homeowner and resident of 200 North Lafayette. So Mr. Silva's properties border both sides of me, and I'm very concerned about any expansion on Mr. Silva's property. Candidly, I'll tell you, he does not make a good neighbor. I don't have a problem with the tenants that he has there. I'm going to tell you the property on the south side of me, I guess it's 122, they never take the trash out. My wife has to do it most of the time. They put either a washer or washing machine in the property on the north side. They did that in the winter. There was, the trash was blowing around all winter. It was probably out there for 2.5 months before it got disposed of. The property on the north side, there was a leak in the roof. They came out, they sent someone out. I don't know if it was Mr. Clement's construction company or not. They ripped off some of the, I don't know if it's asbestos asphalt. They put down a new membrane. These guys, the workers, they're throwing debris everywhere. It's all over my property. It's still there. Most of it I picked up, but you can still go there and see it. I'm very apprehensive about these guys expanding any project where potentially they're going to bring more crowd in. They never had a cleanup in the fall. Their weeds and leaves are all over, the adjacent properties on both sides, because of the wind. If you look at the property at 122, the trash cans are left with tops open. I went around today, picked up a box of debris off my property. I'll tell you, today was trash day. Nobody took out trash at 122. There was 2 cans and a recycle bin that went out at the property of the north. They really don't do anything to, be nice neighbors. And I'd stand opposed to granting these guys, any type of variance till you can get them in line and keeping their properties clean.
Thank you, sir. All right, if you want to come back up and,
I'm Tom.
Tom, have you addressed
actually, if
this?
you, sir, address your
Okay.
comments first.
Yeah, I guess I'm floored. I didn't realize we had these number of issues at these 2 properties. We have about 115 units in Royal Oak, and we're very compliant with all of our properties. And when we do get a letter that says, hey, you need to do something, we do it. In fact, 206 North Lafayette, we just got a letter 2 weeks ago to address the driveway. There's some cracks in it. We bought that building about a year ago, the other property next to them, and we already have 2 bids on putting a new driveway there. So I'm a little surprised and offended because, Tom, I don't think you've ever once addressed me about this. So maybe you've spoken to my manager who manages
sir,
the property.
Your blood's probably
Yeah,
boiling a
I'm
little bit,
sorry,
but
I'm
please
sorry.
keep your
Yeah,
comments
I don't have, I guess I don't have any record of any prior issues with the neighbor up until tonight. And I would be happy to, I am actually a very good neighbor with those that communicate their concerns prior to coming to a zoning meeting like this. So whatever needs to be done, I'll do it. And if you look up our record with the city of Royal Oak, we don't have any outstanding violations. And when we do get a letter, we take care of it.
And we're not code enforcement here either, so.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to tell us about the plan specifically itself as it's in front of us that you haven't said already?
Nothing, I mean, we, as far as the quality of work, Clement Company, I'm not their only customer, so I know the quality is going to be there. We've had other projects with them. That's why we're continuing to work with them, and they do an excellent job, and I have no doubt that the job site will be kept the way it should be. And first thing I'm going to do after this is speak to my manager that's in charge of those two properties and find out if there is any record of these issues, and if there were, why didn't they take care of? As far as the washing machine, we put a brand-new washer dryers in 122 and 206 a few months ago. So there might have been one out there while it was waiting to be picked up, I'm not sure. But that was because I just spent $4,000 on 2 sets of washer dryers. I'm not a slumlord, so.
Is there any additional questions for the petitioner at this point? Not seeing any. Is anybody prepared to take action?
Can I respond?
No, you've already had your time, sir. Yeah. What I would say, I mean, before this board takes any action is, we shouldn't be here a terribly long time addressing these two matters. Just go out in the hallway and just hammer it out. I'm sure you guys can come to a meeting of the minds and, but we are not the arbiters of code enforcement and so forth. So we're really not the board to take that up, Mr. Kroll.
Yes, with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion. I suppose are we voting on both, Joe? Just one? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a
All
motion
three
to approve by
variances.
Mr. Kroll,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Klatt. Any additional discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly sympathetic to this gentleman, but I also feel that there doesn't seem to be that much between them, and hopefully you've not tried to communicate with this gentleman in the past, and it sounds like he's going to be reasonable.
You're responding to me, you're addressing me, can I respond?
Yes, Pat.
So I've lived in that home for 30 years.
Come to the microphone so you're on the record.
As the resident for 30 years. I'm very accessible. I'm there all the time. The owner of the property, it would have been very easy. He's got a variance he's requesting that affects properties on both sides of me. It seems that it would have been his responsibility to reach out to me to see if I would have issue with the project. Now, the issues that I raised had to do with how he tends to his property, not necessarily what the effect is going to be based on the project he's doing. These are both non-conforming properties right now to begin with, and he's going to be expanding that, and it's going to be changing the sight lines. So it's not just affecting necessarily me, but it's going to affect the character of the neighborhood as well. So, take that as it is. The other thing, I've talked to the people that come out and do the work on the property. Now, if it's never got back to him, perhaps the people he has managing it don't do a good job. He doesn't have his name or number anywhere. I imagine I could have filed a complaint. Perhaps I should have. But rather than waiting for stuff to get done, me and my wife just, we take his trash out for him because there is a rodent problem. And he's got rats running up and out of that trash can of his all the time. And it's sad. And
You got it.
I don't know why you'd want to expand, what he's got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kroll?
Yeah, I'm not going to respond directly to that, other than we are really not the board to deal with that. So what's in front of us, I think, is very reasonable. It was approved in 2009. Nothing much has changed since then. I don't see here if it was unanimously approved or what the count was, but it was certainly approved. I guess I'm going back to my living across the street, and do I want to look at that, or do I want to look at it filled in and modern? I'd rather see it filled in and modern, and without, normally we would see somebody up here trying to stick another apartment in the center of that and make it more dense, and, they're not doing that. They might be making larger apartments, but
So the discussion's on this side of the table now.
I can only vote, sir, on what's in front of me today. I can't use my imagination to envision what it might be down the road, so, with no disrespect, sir.
There's no parking, there's limited parking there.
There isn't a parking variance.
Al.
Let's just do this.
All right. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Yes, sir.
I'm a little torn because if we go by normal hardship circumstances, this chapter's restrictions unreasonably prevent the owner from using a property from permitted use. No, he's currently using it as multifamily. He can still continue to use it as multifamily if we don't approve this. Variance would do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners in the district. One could argue either way on that. They're gonna make it look nicer, but in this case, you have a neighbor who thinks it'll cause other problems. So that's sort of a pass. The plight of landowner is due to the unique circumstances of the property. That is true, in my opinion, because, hey, it's already on a lot that has changed probably over the years, the amount of requirements for sorry, my brain's blank, but for the distance needed between the lot lines. So that's sort of not their fault. And alleged hardship has not been created by any other person presently having interest. By trying to expand it, he's creating it, but again, it's a circumstance where what was required has changed over the years, so that's also a pass. So I'm sort of torn a little bit, but I'm leaning more towards approving it.
Any other discussion? I see any. I will go ahead and call for the vote to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, so that moves us on to our next item of new business, which is item D2, which is pretty much a mirror image of what we dealt with before. Located at 206 North Lafayette, looking to waive 12.2 feet of the minimum required 25-foot north side yard setback, and also to waive 18.4 feet of the minimum required 25 south side yard setback to expand and alter a non-conforming structure. Again, Mr. Murphy?
Yes. So as you stated, the buildings are not exact mirror images of each other, but extremely close. They are sited on the property slightly different, although the naked eye wouldn't be able to tell. There is a survey in the report that accompanies the report that highlights the exact measurement from the setback. Similar in nature, they're trying to fill in the center space on the second floor, not an additional dwelling unit, rather expand additional floor space to expand each of the upper units. And they don't meet the 25-foot setback from the property lines, so they're seeking variances from those same standards.
Any questions for Mr. Murphy? Anything that you gentlemen want to add to this?
It's the identical project, just a couple doors down.
Okay. And sir?
Yes, please. So, one thing that wasn't clear, because I came in about 30 seconds late, when I walked in, which property you were actually talking about, the fact that you were handling them separately and as opposed to jointly, so I wasn't aware of that. The property that was on the south side, that he indicated he purchased a year and a half ago, you know, the variance that might have been given back in 2008 wasn't a variance that was given to him. It was given to a previous owner. So I don't know what the variance that may have been granted, maybe this is the one, can someone clarify that for me? Is this the building that had the variance granted in 2008? Do you even know?
I don't recall. I'd have to look in the file, which I don't have with
I
me.
can answer that.
Yeah.
122 North Lafayette was the one I purchased in 2008 that had this project approved back in 2009. 206 North Lafayette, which is on the screen there, is on the other side of your property. That's the one I just purchased about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And, you know, and,
So did that have a variance?
no, it never did.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Please continue.
Well, you know, I'd cite the same thing. You know, maybe the other one had the variance, this one didn't. I don't know if that figured into your rationale for approving this. But, you know, just because something's non-conforming, you know, you guys put that monster house in facing Washington. I can't imagine,
That didn't come in front of us.
but, you know, I don't know how that
I
got
don't recall.
approved.
We see a lot of cases.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's across the alley from the house north of this address. And, you know, there are a number of variants that were granted, you know, for that. The construction that's gone on that property, when they put the sod in back in the fall, they throw the concrete and the building debris in the alley, and I mean, and it's still there. So your code enforcement people, I know they were going after the homeowner whose property it was laid on, but they're not watching, you know, where the construction's actually happening and which contractors leaving debris. So I've seen where they're not able to, you know, your building department isn't able to follow through on a project, you know, within 50 yards of where this is. So I don't have a comfort level that they're gonna be able to do it on the house that's right next door to mine, on the property that's next door to mine. When he bought this property, that was how it looked. You know, I'm gonna contend that's how it should stay.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'll bring it back to this side of the table and close the public hearing. Is there anybody prepared to take action?
I will make a motion, Mr. Chair, to also approve this variance.
Motion by Mr. Kroll,
Second?
second.
You know, again, I'm sympathetic, but on the other hand, I think this variance makes sense. I mean, and I think to do one and not the other is kind of ridiculous, so.
Any additional discussion?
I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wanted to just mention again that this is a multifamily area. And it's nice to have some single-family homes in there too. That's kind of the nice mix that Royal Oak has. And my real concern really was about parking, and it's not a parking issue. So in that regard, I'll move forward with this one too, just like the other.
If I could address you guys, I would certainly hope that you would clean this up. It doesn't bode well to have a neighbor come in and he's not telling he's telling a terrible tale. I wouldn't want to live next to the story he's told tonight.
I completely understand. and
Well, don't
that's-
understand and take action, please.
Oh, I do take action. This is the first I've heard of it. Granted, I don't drive by there every day, so I can understand that maybe on trash days, the tenants are responsible putting the garbage cans out, but I was thinking maybe I can come up with another solution for that, so.
Come up with some way
Yeah,
of
no,
making
I'm
this
coming up with
gentleman
something.
happy, please.
That's how.
And sir, if it continues to happen, I would hammer code enforcement until they're sick of hearing from you.
And as for construction, I'll ensure that we have a clean site. We haven't worked on this property, but our sites remain clean at all times. We'll make sure during all construction, everything is nice and clean and no issues with them.
Any other discussion? Not seeing any, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You're all set, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We don't have any other new business. And if there's anybody in the audience who would like to address this for public comment? Not seeing anybody, I will go ahead and close the public comment and look for the mystery motion.
Move to adjourn?
Motion by Mr. Curtis.
I'll support.
Do you have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned.